Hey, boys and girls. Okay, so we're going to get on with our science today and learn about our fourth planet from the sun. But before we do that, Miss Bowden just wants to kind of forewarn you guys that if I have to sometimes talk a little slower or take a deep breath, it's because Miss Bowden's asthma has been acting up lately. I think it's a lot to do with the allergies in the air. I'm getting a little congested in the chest area. But I haven't left my house in 3 weeks, not even to go to the grocery or pick up groceries or anything because I had a lot stored here. So I don't think it's any sickness. I think it's just my allergies acting up from all the pollen coming around. So I already took my inhaler that I needed to take, and it's working. Just sometimes when I go to talk, I might need to slow it down and take a deep breath every now and then. But that's not going to stop me from posting these videos today because I do want to teach you guys, and let's learn about our fourth planet from the sun. So our first planet was Mercury. Our second planet was Venus. Our third planet is our home planet, Earth. And our fourth planet is going to be Mars. Yeah, Mars is our fourth planet from the sun, and it's the last of our inner planets. So it's the last terrestrial planet, the last rocky planet that we're going to learn about. And Mars is actually the second smallest planet in our solar system. Mercury is smaller than Mars, but Mars is bigger than Mercury, so it makes it our second smallest. Mars is known as the red planet because it has a lot of dust on the Earth that's made up of iron oxide, which is basically rust. So if you were to go outside and leave something outside, metal, for a long time, it's going to start to get rust on top of it. And rust, the color of rust is red. So the surface of Mars appears to be red because of all the rusty material that it's made out of. Lots of it in the ground. So Mars is really interesting to learn about because it is a lot like Earth. It's got an atmosphere. Now, it's got a really thin atmosphere. And the atmosphere is super thin because it's a tiny planet and doesn't have much gravity to pull it. But it does have a little itty bitty thin atmosphere. And that atmosphere kind of has like a little pinkish tone to it because of those rusty particles, those rusty dust particles coming up into the air, making it look a little pinkish or reddish. But it's like Earth because it's got a tiny atmosphere. It has ice caps. It's got volcanoes. It has seasons. And guess what? It is almost the same amount of hours to make one entire day. So it can rotate, and it takes about 24 2/3 hours. So almost 25 hours in one day. But it takes about 687 days to rotate around the sun. So that's almost double the amount that it takes Earth to go around. So Mars, it takes about 2 times as long to go around the sun than the Earth does. But it takes about the same number of hours to make one day, which is really pretty cool. Mars, people wonder if Mars could support life. There's lots of studies that are going on, and lots of rovers and satellites that are orbiting Mars and constantly have gone down to Mars to gather data. There's been some successful and some unsuccessful trips. We're hoping within the next couple of decades, maybe a person can go onto Mars and walk the surface to see what it's like. But lots of rovers have been going and taking pictures of Mars and traveling around the surface collecting samples so we can study them back on Earth to learn more about the planet. So they think, sorry about that. So they think that Mars used to have liquid water on it because they have all these different canals that they've kind of found that kind of make it look like that it seems that there was a lot of salt water going around Earth. But the only water really that you kind of know about is the two big ice caps that they have at the poles. So you know how we have the North Pole and the South Pole, and they're both frozen and they're full of ice? Well, that's the same as Mars. They have a North Pole and a South Pole, and it's made of frozen ice. Except this frozen ice is frozen carbon dioxide ice, which is kind of like dry ice. So it's pretty interesting. It gets super cold up there in the winter times. But around, remember I told you yesterday that the Earth had an imaginary line called the equator that divided it in half? So Mars, around its middle point that would divide it in half, it can get up to 95 degrees in the summer. So it gets a decent amount of sunlight and warmth in there. But the atmosphere can't hold as much sunlight as the Earth can because remember, it's super thin because it doesn't have much gravity on there. So it would be kind of fun to go and walk similar to the moon, not much gravity. You would come down and you would walk with a little bit of a bounce. And